The symbol encoding an marginal clarity sentence that appear in the king, in which do not follow seven basic word order patterns, has already described and displayed different patterns because of the position of optional verbs in the sentence. As optional adverbials are not essential to the core meaning of a sentence, they are also said to be peripheral elements. The more peripheral a clause element is, the greater freedom in announcing the position it takes up in the sentence. The more central essential sentence elements have a fixed order in unmarked sentences. It also being seen that obligatory verbs being essential elements have a fixed sentence position in unmarked sentences, as the as of VOA. Optional verbs, on the other hand, have greater flexibility. They are capable of occurring in more than one position in a sentence. It is moreover possible to find the same verbal in different positions. The following sentence from the king show the different position taken up by verbs soon and no. A. Soon the king was the only person left on the island. Initial sentence position. B. She soon had strength out. Middle sentence position. C. An hour and Mrs. Jewel were rich. Initial sentence position. D. Well, he and everybody who lived on the island were now as poor as the people Naples had been. Middle sentence position. Although optional adverbs are flexible in the order in which they appear in a sentence, they show a tendency to assume a certain position with greater frequency. This tendency towards assuming a certain position means that when they are found in a less frequent position, they gain a certain degree of markedness in the sentence. An attempt will not be made to define the most frequent position of adverbials according to their different types, both from the point of view of form, example, verb, prepositional phrase, and that of function, time, space, manner. Optional adverbials may be found in initial, middle, and position in an unmarked sentence, as can be seen in the following examples from the king. Optional adverbials marked in bold. Initial sentence position. A. Every morning she sat on upturned laundry basket. B. For a start, Mrs. Julian was very small. C. Then Wash looked, then he looked again. Middle sentence position. A. Her tiny house was always full of steam. B. Mrs. Julian was just finished their supper. C. All his servants and all his friends gradually left him. And sentence position. A. He padded out on the balcony. B. The king of Cabri had been out to a party. C. There was an enormous orange cat on the front step. The form and function of optional adverbials will not be examined in relationship to their most frequent and marked position in the sentence. Initial sentence position. Every morning she sat on an upturned laundry basket. For a start, Mrs. Jewel was very small. Then was looked, then he looked again. However, in initial sentence position are often those associated with setting the scene. For the information that follows the rest of the sentence, Quirk has found that this position seems to be favored by verbs expressing time. Confirmation the statement in the king are a total of 12 verbs expressing time in initial position, whilst there is only one verb expressing space. 4 of the initial position of verbs are non-phrase indicated time marked in bold. A. That night the great tempest blew across the sea. B. Every morning she sat on a upturned laundry basket. C. By morning the news was out. D. And someday all this will change. One sentence begins with a long adverbial element expressing time made up of adverb, then, and a noun phrase, one day, and a secondary post-modifying clause. When his plate was empty, then one day when his plate was empty, his wife is bride in a road across the bay to see the Queen of Naples. Such time adverbials say the same regarding either the frequency of the action. Every morning or the progress of time within the story. That night, by morning, other sentences with initial time adverbials are introduced by the single word time. Adverbs then in one sentence, now in one sentence, and soon in one sentence, as in then they were going to share a cup of meal, then was looking, then he looked again, then he looked again and again. Now was Miss Jill were rich, soon the king was the only person left on the island. As has been noted, obligatory verbs normally indicate location or direction and never fix in a marking order following the verb to which they refer. If a sentence contains two adverbs in the form of one obligatory space adverbs and one optional time adverbial, as is often in the case of in the king, the optional time adverbial is normally placed in initial position. In this way, the order avoids placing two verbs in end position. The following marking word order may therefore be proposed. Optional time adverbial plus subject plus verb plus obligatory space adverbial. Here are two examples from the king showing this pattern. Hey, every morning, optional time adverbial, she, subject, verb, on an nocturnal laundry basket, obligatory space adverbial. B, then, optional time adverbial, the king, subject, got, verb, into his big bed, obligatory space adverbial. This pattern of spreading time and space adverbials by placing the time adverbial initial position, the space adverbial, and the end position is also reflected when both adverbials are optional, as in the following example. Soon, optional time adverbial, the king, subject, was, verb, the only person left, C, complement on the island, optional space adverbial. Other adverbials that have initial and marking position are those that link one sentence to another, termed conjunct. Their initial position is logical because in this position, conjuncts are able to form a clear connection between the two sentences. The following example illustrates this point. If you went to Mrs. Gill's house to look for her, you wouldn't be able to see her. For a start, Mrs. Gill was very small and her house was full of steam. The adverbial conjunct for a start links up with the previous information. You wouldn't be able to see Mrs. Gill if you went to her house effect. It introduced explanation of the particular situation because she was small and the house was full of steam. Cause